Oh, there we are. All right. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I apologize. Had some technical difficulties leading into this. Let me make sure I get everything synchronized. I'm doing a simulcast until I get more people to go over to the other channel. And in aid of that, I'm going to send y'all a link to the other feed. So my hope is, folks, that I can get as many people tuned in to the Mirror channel as possible when it comes to these live feeds, and get people used to tuning into the Mirror channel almost like it's a separate channel. So hang on, I need to pause this one here so I don't waste bandwidth. And then what I'm going to do is anybody who is on the channel that simply says Gabriel Cruz, that's the one that basically, if you're in the chat right now, none of that's going to get archived. That one's going to get deleted almost as soon as it's done. And then the one, if you want to participate and have that as part of it, you're going to have to go to the other link, and I'm going to give that to you here in a second. So if this isn't where you're at right now, okay, if that link right there isn't the feed that you're in, I'm just letting you know that, what I'm doing now is I'm simulcasting. I'm on 2 channels currently. One is called Gabriel Cruz. The other one is called Gabriel Cruz Research Mirror Channel. If you're not on the Mirror channel, then your chat comments, they'll just, and that's fine. I mean, it's entirely up to you. It's not like it's a huge thing, but there's times where people will say something in the chat, and then if I'm talking, then it'll just disappear is the point. And so if you don't want that to happen, then you'll want to go to the one called Gabriel Cruz Research Mirror Channel and then participate in that. And it's identical to this. There's no differences. I make them in the same streaming software. I generate them simultaneously, and I start them simultaneously, which is a little bit of the reason why I'm late. So I apologize. Thank you, though, for your patience. And so what I'm trying to do is get people to merge over to the other channel as much as I can. And then also, please, when you are at the other channel, if you do join that chat, it would benefit everything greatly if you would also subscribe simultaneously. Again, this is all personal preferences for folks. I'm just letting you know, if you follow this material and it's important to you, then that's going to be the way you're going to have to find it. And then I'll do this for a while, but where I'm simulcasting. But at some point, I'm going to probably focus only the live material is going to be solely on the other channel. Or I may create even a third channel that's completely for live material and nothing else, to where it's just simply, like I might just call it, Gabriel Cruz Research Live. And that'll be the name of that channel, and that'll be strictly dedicated to live material and nothing else. And there's reasons why I would want to do that. And it's because there's such aggressiveness in selectively deciding some people's material is bad and worthy of being struck and suspended. And there's been times where I was in complete amazement that something like that happened to my channel, and I was like, that's the reason? And I was scratching my head going, I don't get it. I really don't understand what happened. And then my channel would get suspended for a couple weeks. And, so anyways, anybody who can join on the Gabriel Cruz Research Backup Mirror Channel, I guess that's kind of a long name. Maybe I could just put Mirror Channel, Research Mirror. I don't know. I didn't know if that was enough. But the point is that at some point when I have the time, I'm going to be more aggressively uploading older material from my main channel to that Mirror channel, so that in case something happens to my main YouTube channel, that there'll be a complete archive of all that material over at the Mirror. And that way, it'll be, if something disappears, it'll be as seamless as I can make it for folks, right? That way you'll still be able to get my material on YouTube. And then when I'm better resourced and in a more stable situation, I'll start to upload everything I've done to a maybe more of a, I don't know what the best venue is nowadays. I want something that people can, is functional, that people can actually use. I'm already on BitChute, but it had some errors with my synchronizing to my YouTube channel. And so it's been kind of like in a weird limbo of non-functionality for the most part since last summer. Strangely, it coincided right when I did like a huge, huge expose, like just drilled everything wrong with Science Applications International Corporation, Leidos, and Dynetics. That's basically what it was. It was one huge presentation where I said, fine, the gloves are off. And I just went like aggressive, like, here's all your links, everybody. Here's everything that I know. And I just put it in the chat. Here's this link. Here's this link. Here's this link. It was like a boxing match of just pummeling this group's horrible track record of effectively, in my opinion, it's my personal opinion, that their effect on America is to destabilize America while pretending to be our friends. That's my opinion of them. I don't think that they're like a normal, like, bumbling defense contractor. I think that my personal opinion is that their design from the get-go was to be a big con on America. And I think it has its origins in Operation Paperclip Nazis. And that's why they're so effective at it. They basically been able to get their hands into everything in our infrastructure at a level that would make your jaw drop. I covered it all last night. That's basically what I spent most of my 3 hours doing yesterday, was doing it all over again, in a way that was a little bit more accessible. Again, I try to show everybody as much of that material as I can, but like, I'd say the one I did last summer, if last night piqued your interest, you may want to go into one, and I can find you a link to it, that I did a whole, like, where I give you every link too. Like, I don't just like sit here and talk about them. I give you all the links. What I might wind up doing is taking that one from last summer and just editing it with slides included, because I had no streaming software back then where I could share slides. So all I could do is just drop a whole bunch of links into the chat for people, because I couldn't do this where I actually, can share my screen and show a whole bunch of slides. I just didn't have the functionality back then. I can't remember why. Oh, it's because I hadn't learned what the platforms were to do it since I had lost Google Hangouts. And this is this one I have to pay for, which I'm not crazy about. And quite frankly, I would have already stopped paying for this one if I knew how. This is one of those freaking companies where once they get you locked into a monthly payment thing, it's like, wait, you're not giving me an option to cancel. I want to cancel. Stop it. Stop it. I swear, I don't want this anymore. I prefer to use other software. I don't like you putting it on me. Stop it. Anyways, haven't done any impersonations so far, and we're less than 10 minutes in. I thought I should give you a little Arnold Schwarzenegger. Why not? But anyways, guys, I really do appreciate you joining and everything. And if you could basically go to the Mirror channel as often as possible from now on, that's just the point that I wanted to make going into this in the beginning. Okay. And then trying to think of how I want to start this off. I kind of gave a good, I have done a lot of material on Twitter about this, but see, tonight I want this to be more about like something that I've done with my personal journey involving race politics, because I don't want this to be about race politics. I want this to be more about how I stopped thinking about it as much as I used to, because I used to be a person that was very, like right now, folks, you would be surprised if you understood my ideologies going back, if you really knew me many, many years going back to when I was younger. what informed my opinions, where I got my values from, you would be very surprised that I've arrived at some of the beliefs that I have today. I'm not personally surprised. I see the whole journey, but I think for some people who don't know how you get from one place to the other ideologically, I haven't switched or something like that, folks. I think I've just broadened my perspective as to what I think is going on relative to our behavior as I've studied energy, human energy, and how thoughts become things relative to psychotronic weapons and the mechanisms that make people synchronize and hive together very, very effectively. And it really is, I want to get people more familiar with this process, because I don't think people understand. Look, let me give you the positive aspect of this so that you understand why this is true. People say when you go to the ocean that your blood pressure lowers. It's not just something they say. I'll get an article on it. I'll prove it, guys. But and I myself will go out and collect this data. I will. I promise you. This is something that it's in my personal mission. I want to do brainwave research as well as the orgone research at the ocean in particular. That's a huge, huge goal of mine, is to do at least a month or two of full metal disclosure sessions at the coast and do significant research relative to brainwave, how your thoughts become things at the ocean, and to demonstrate that there is ways that you can prove, you can at least prove via weather events. And then when you begin to demonstrate that people can affect weather, and that you can do things like, what do you want to say? I've experienced these things too many times, guys, to where I know there's energy signatures associated with it, is all I'm trying to say. So what I'd like to do is at some point bring that over to that region at some point. I've already done it to some degree, just not on a large scale. I've been kind of stuck in the desert, which is the last place that I wanted to be, quite frankly, but that's all right. You know, I think it's important sometimes to go to areas that have negative energy. I think if you've become adept at understanding what it takes to transmute negative energy, if you understand the roots of negative energy, I think there's a part of me that I understand what I can do psychoenergetically and bioenergetically, and it's not wizardry, it's just science. And that once you understand what your body does and what your blood group is relative to the earth materials and relative to ionospheric conditions and earth materials, then you start to see yourself less as a, look, I see myself as a full human, but when it comes to this, no, I look at myself as a piece of a larger machine that involves the earth and the sky and other elements, and my thoughts are part of it. And, you know, you can call that whatever you want to, but it is bioenergetics. And when you do these things, there's things that change within your physical body that prove that there's a process occurring. And all I'm trying to do with my research is demonstrate what that process is doing at a real level. And it is exactly this, that when you're at the ocean, all right, the thoughts become things is so much more powerful because you're clocking and synchronizing with other people there simultaneously. And there's a little bit of a battle, a chess battle. Well, not battle. It's the way we coexist and the way we collaborate within the biofield. There's a collective consciousness that's taking everything in, regardless of what we want to feed into it. It just gets it all. So you're thinking about something all day, all night. And this bio-internet's getting it. The collective consciousness is receiving it, which is to say that everybody that's out there that's an adept, that's more psychic, I guess you could say, or intuitive, well, they can really tap into it. And then the more you dissipate away from those layers at a DNA level, from the people that are the most adept at tapping into it, they just don't sense it as strongly when they're individuals. When they're in a collective, they will sense it stronger. And what I've observed, folks, is this dynamic of sort of these people that are alleged to be gifted within the psychic realm. I think that there's an aspect of this that I think is true. Those in that realm, they don't always thrive in being in larger environments, which is to say they may oftentimes find that their abilities diminish in those environments, whereas the others, their abilities will amplify and re-radiate exponentially. But there's a handshake that exists between these blood groups where this is just how it works, energetically within the plasma field. Some are contributing smaller droplets in larger concentrations, whereas some are individually offering larger concentrations of individual payload droplets that are more like, bloop, like you fill up a tub instantly with water as opposed to like little raindrops. Each one has its value. Can we agree? Like you don't always need to go. Sometimes you just need to go sprinkle, sprinkle, right? And it's true within energy of all types. Like I was in radio frequency design. I do lots of metaphors for people relative to that. And the irony in this, guys, is that when I was in the wireless industry, my way of relating to people out there who are rural, they were mostly people that came from like farming backgrounds or from smaller towns. And so the salespeople oftentimes were like, hey man, how you doing? Hey, you're the cell tower fixer guy. So you'd come in there and talk to them. Not all the people talk like that out there, by the way. Not even most. But I'm just saying, like, some of the people that are a little bit more in the country, they might be like, hey, you're the engineer guy. But when you're trying to relate to them, I would oftentimes use irrigation metaphors to explain to them how radio frequency works. And I'd be like, well, hey, you know how it is. Like sometimes you lay out those individual pipelines, right? And you put those out on certain smaller sections of your farm. And it goes, and then you only need to water that section for a little while. So you take one row and you move it over to the other end. And that's how you kind of maintain an even watering cycle, right? Yeah. Okay. And then you've got what? Wheel lines, or do you guys have the circles on your yards? Oh, we had circles and wheel lines, but mostly circles. I said, and why? Because it covers a huge space quicker, more efficiently. It's more expensive, but you get this big circle. If you ever looked at them, you guys have seen farms. You have ones that are called circles, and it's just like like pie, the concept of pie. It's like you're looking at it visually from the sky, and you see it rotate around. And that's caused by this thing where the water's fed in through the center, and then it goes out over this long, it's like a sundial almost. It just goes in a circle slowly all day long, rotating over this huge swath of the farm. And that has its own efficiencies, right? And so it's just showing people like, you don't buy a circle when you only need a few handline pipes because you only have a small area, right? You don't need that big old thing, right? Or you don't need a small scale one like that because it's a really simple water process that you're trying to do. So why would you go that overboard with it? Okay. So it's just the same. I'm just explaining it within the same realms of energetics and human energy and psychic, I guess you could say, or whatever you want to call those things. Because everybody has it, guys. Everybody does. It's just that you have to learn how it works for you individually. And if your blood group is more of the other type, then you benefit from being in large concentrations of people. You really start to hive together and your abilities amplify and you're able to achieve something. And all I would suggest to you is that you understand that not every single time you introduce a person of another group, and it's not always blood, it's just simply that not every single type thrives in that type of environment. Sometimes their abilities diminish. They become like a source for everybody else when they don't intend to be, and everybody starts to feed on their energy when they don't intend to. And those people know to kind of stay away from those environments, not because those people are bad. It's just simply because it's a different energetic environment that they need to thrive. And what I've learned is that there's some of these people that the way that they think, and I've just seen like the ones that are more like shaman and whatever you want to say, when you study the research on them, you're going to learn that they always tend to be from these groups that benefit from being amongst each other and in more, I guess you could say, separate environments most of the time, because they're doing something a little bit differently in the way that they're thinking of problems. See, the way that the groups that are more gravitated towards groups, they have a different way of approaching problems that works for them. And they need to balance that just like the others do. When you're more individualistic and isolated in your way of problem thinking, you must know that you have to balance that against something. That doesn't equate to immersing yourself fully into it, but you must balance it against something. And that's all I learned over time, was that I benefited personally when I immersed myself in certain environments for a limited time, but not for a lot. I'll give you an example. I really felt good. You know, something that I wouldn't say that I didn't benefit, and I wouldn't have benefited from staying there, because that's not true. But like, I went to Oklahoma for a year and, I don't know, some change, about a year and a half or so, give or take a few months. And I worked there. And I was at the time rigidly, I don't think I've ever called myself an atheist. I've always been a reluctant agnostic. Didn't really know what I wanted to believe. I wasn't sure. I explored all of it. I looked into nearly every religion and tried to understand it better. And not everyone, but, you know, as much as I could, guys, with my limited knowledge of religions and things like that at the time. Yeah, I did my best to sort of reach out and figure out, okay, what do these people believe? What do those people believe? The one that I've still failed to understand better and want to understand much better is Judaism. That's the one that I'd really like to understand at a deeper level. I want to know everything about, you know, the Torah and the numbers. I'm very fascinated by what's in that, because I've kind of done a little bit of Bible decoding. And I really do think that there's a lot of correlations between what goes on in the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah all. And that I think if a person only studies one, they're going to miss a lot of the pieces to this global puzzle that we're existing in within perception, management, and how people are perceiving reality different based on a lot of these different perceptions of how, because I think that's why I understand people so well, guys. It's because I just looked into so many different things. So even though I didn't understand the religion of Judaism as intrinsically, it was important to me when I was younger, for example, to understand like what happened in the concentration camps in Germany, and you know what the Jews experienced with the Nazis there, for example. And I did study that pretty intensely when I was younger, but that doesn't translate to, you know, religious schooling. It's just that was a sincere interest that I had. And simultaneously, excuse me, guys, simultaneously studying a lot of these other more, you know, other religions and in esoteric societies over time, I've just learned that I'm not that concerned with race anymore. And to me, it feels like the fact that I'm not concerned about it now is really strange to me. It's fitting, though. It's a good thing that I don't care anymore. Because I used to care way too much, and I focused and concentrated on it too much. And as a result, I think it clouded my perception of others, and I didn't give other people a fair enough chance sometimes to just explain what their perspective was and their beliefs were to me. Or even if I let them as my friends or something like that, I was only allowing a certain portion in. I did respect them. I did, you know, like that they were sharing their opinions with me and that I agreed with some of it, if not all of it. But there was still this sort of part of me that kind of felt like that person's wrong. Instead of like, well, they perceive it different. And I think that's what's changed now. I don't think, well, they're wrong. I think, no, they're perceiving this different. And then once I understand it at that level, and it helps when you're a person from my background that you live in a place like Oklahoma for a year and a half. It helps that you go and live in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Las Vegas for a while. It helps if you go and live in some of the worst hotels in, you know, the middle of Portland, in the middle of like Antifa BLM riot time. If you want to like fully realize what's happening right now, let me tell you something I know. I've been right in there, all around it, and it's all around me a lot. I understand what's going on. And the people that get close to me, I think oftentimes start wanting to hurt me because they have vengeance on their brain. And then as they get closer and closer and they hear me and they know what I'm really about, they kind of learn that I'm right about this. And they're not as angry at me as they used to be. And I've kind of used that to my advantage, to be honest with you. I don't mind that certain people begin by being angry at me. And I know that once they review things critically, if they ever had a chance to, if they ever intended to, that all it takes is them closely reviewing me, and then they kind of go, man, I didn't really see it that way before. So that's all I'm trying to do. I don't want you to think that you're wrong and that I'm right. That's never my goal. I'm explaining to you why I used to perceive some things similar to some of the people that are out there in the streets right now that are genuinely angry. Because I'm thinking to myself, could I have been one of the people out there actually angry and not just pretending to be angry? Because some of those people are just pretending. Well, I could have been swept into those people and been genuinely upset myself. There was a time where it would have happened. And had I not had the range of experiences living with all the different people that I lived around or with that were different than me, then I'm not sure that that I would be this way today. I think I may have been so stuck in that ideology that if I hadn't humanized these people in a greater way and just understood them better as people who just see day-to-day reality different from me, or sometimes they're just advocating for the side that they think is the best for them without even being conscious and aware that the whole notion that there is a side to choose is just nonsense. And at the time, that was where I was. It was mostly like, I was like, well, maybe if I talk to this guy long enough, he'll understand my perspective and maybe he might agree with it at some point. And then I thought, and there's always a likelihood too that I could always agree with something that this person says to me. And I wasn't in objection to that at all. In fact, I would say what's weird, guys, is even though I called myself like a Democrat, not really. I said I was more liberal. I didn't really like calling myself a Democrat because I never really felt close to them as a party. But I would take these political quizzes that would always identify me as a libertarian. They go, based on your political perspective, we think that you're a libertarian. Like, over and over. So I'd send it to other people like that. I sent it to one who's a rigid Democrat, and they were like, big deal. It's a basic test. Who cares? It's designed to say that. Like, or is it more likely that most people, they just kind of feel like, well, I don't want there to be that much government in my life. And, but I kind of just want to, like, as long as I'm not hurting anybody, I don't want people excessively telling me what to do. That's pretty normal. That's pretty much what, that's the perspective you're going to find, like, nearly everywhere. Would you just leave me alone if I'm not bothering you? Because just, I don't care who you are. Right? That's privacy. It's kind of like what the laws of privacy are about. So like, I'm not bothering you. Just leave me alone. It ain't hurting you. Yeah, if it ain't hurting anyone else and you're not hurting anyone in front of you, and most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, here's my laws. Here's my rule. I'm like, I could make nearly every law book really, really simple by saying, do not violate the free will of another. Now, you must compare whatever it is against that right there. To me, everything outside of that, you can just find a very limited way to address it to where you can make things even between people and agree whoever was wrong, can you make it up to this person, blah, blah, blah. But if you violate the free will of a human being or anything else, then yes, we need to have a larger conversation about what that translates to. What I mean is say anything else, because there's different ways you can violate the free will of other creatures that are beyond just, like, for example, a food source, because I'm not getting into this concept of like, you shouldn't eat meat. That's not it, guys. That's not where I'm coming from. Those of you who like to eat meat, I'm not going to be the guy that ever lectures you on it or anything like that. I did stop eating it, but see, like, it's almost like now they're trying to make it seem like anybody who stopped eating it is like some aggressive vegan who's going to jump down your throat and tell you that you have to eat soy and grow boobs. So don't worry, folks, I'm not that guy. But I have been open to risking growing boobs, by eating some of those alternatives. And sometimes I report my findings on it, and it's mostly negative. So don't worry, meat eaters. There's no threat to that economy. I think the only group that's really, like, offered a considerable threat to meat is Beyond. They're the only ones that have convinced me on any level that I was actually eating meat. The rest of them, I kind of go, Gross. Yeah, I'm not doing this. So, you know. So I wanted to talk though about, hang on, because I had a good, I had a bullet point thing of my topics here because I wanted it to be a little bit structured because I tend to wander around when I'm talking about these things. Yeah, so I was going to talk about exodus of MK, transmuting race baiting and divisiveness, and perception management in America. So I'm doing good, guys. I've got this. I got it. No worries. I'm staying on track. I was worried there for a second. I think I'm babbling, but I've stayed on topic. I've actually covered most of my material in the first, well, half of it I've covered in the first 30 minutes here. So, hey. I'm getting better at bringing the material in instead of kind of wandering all over the place. So hopefully you guys don't mind too much, because I can go off on tangents. But all right, which that just threw me off even saying that. The reason why I wanted to get into this topic at a deeper level, I guess, is because I think that I've really seen the architecture of some of the things that are going on in our country right now that are really, in my view, are causing a lot of harm to our progress and keeping really nice people, I think, that would normally get along quite well. It's kind of preventing them from doing that. And I think that that's really sad. In my view, people in America have way more in common than they have in differences from one another. And in aid of, like, how do I say this, folks? Like, I've been really trying to, like, tell people that I know a lot about this bloodline thing, and that there's just simply a lot of people out there that just kind of pretend to be ethnic minorities that are really, what it is that they have a very strong combination of Sicilian, Italian roots that were from families that were more loyal to the Nazi party. Okay? As a result, when you have more Sicilian and Italian roots, there is a tendency to have a strong concentration of Moorish bloodlines. If you have strong concentrations of Moorish bloodlines and you ensure that the ones with the significant concentrations mate with others, not just of Moor blood, but what they would also do is begin to integrate people that are French, that are dark complected and have olive skin, because they're looking for the Eurocentric roots, but they want the complexion combined with the Moorish. They a lot of times will get the hair that's a little bit close to an afro, if not an actual one, even if they're not black. They'll get something very similar to it. It's very, very the tightly wound hair. I know this because I've had relatives that have had it. And it's strange the way it crosses different bloodlines and the way some get it, some don't, kind of things, right? And I really started to study. I had this intuition that our genes had been used. Some of the bloodline families that I seem to be from have had their genetics used in quite a number of people that just wound up as musicians, actors, and then in the background, producers, directors, costume designers, set designers, cinematographers, that kind of thing. Everything to do with Hollywood, because what I think people should do now is start to just look at Hollywood for what it always has been. It's always been a bioenergetic device as a geographic location. How else do I say it? It's always been there to radiate like an antenna, influence bioenergetically. It is a science experiment that's pretty masterful and global in nature in its reach. It proves everything that I've discussed of involving bioenergy. That's the thing that, like, I'm fascinated by Hollywood. I'm also bothered by the things that are wrong with it. But you understand that a lot of people call them Hollyweird and things like that. And I guess my olive branch to them is that they may be some of the only people at a high level that truly understand what we exist in. And once you understand that, then you'll want to know what they know instead of going, oh, scary, I can't listen to that, or I can't pay attention to that material, or oh, I want to learn about that. Oh no, I stay away from learning about that. No, you're going to want to learn about that, because if you don't, you're trusting it all to them, and you don't want to do that. Because even if they were all great and nice people, what they do with energy, it can have a I call it dark orgone toxicity. I don't know if others have a name for it, but to me, that's an like a person might require something consistent with an exorcism, because bioenergetically, yeah, there is something that would be different from them. You could actually get measurable energy signals from a person that would be, quote, possessed. Because a possession is it really is, folks. It's when your water content has been reprogrammed top down, re-resonated off frequency, and reprogrammed with new information. That's all it really takes to effectively reprogram a person. I think what I've learned, though, is that some people are more and less susceptible to it. Like me, I fight it. I'm not going to tell you folks that I'm not susceptible to it to a degree, because I've been in some pretty intense systems, and they did in fact have an effect on me. Nothing radical, but they did start to change over time my opinions. And that was scary. That was really scary to think about. When the reality hit me that something like that might actually be happening, I think that that's when my brain just sort of reset from it, and it just started to go like, no! Like, and then I just pushed back ever since. And I was exposed to that system in 2012. And I'm telling you, it was literally a trailer that was aimed and parked right in my window. And it hived me into these two other people. And I literally, it's like they were just getting me to synchronize with everything. And I'm telling you, I became like their slave. I'd get up and I'd wipe everything down. And I was like this obsessive person, and I was being sent like messages to do everything this way, and that it had to be with perfection. It must be with perfection every single day. Really, it was the most bizarre thing. I was turning into like this little robot, like, okay, I'll get up and I'll do everything. I'm going to do this. Where do I go next? Okay, do I sit down and do my exercises? Okay, I'm going to watch the television. Are we watching MSNBC today? I wonder what they have to say. It's so fascinating. Yeah, I agree with them too. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I know it's horrible what just happened, isn't it? This started to happen to me a little bit. So I'm familiar, guys. That's scary. To me, to have the realization that you're at least a little susceptible to it, I have to be honest with you. I hardly ever tell anybody this, because it does wound my ego, as much as I try not to admit that I have like a huge one. I don't have a huge one. But when you're a person that like you respect others' intellectual whatever prowess, and your own, and that you realize at one time that somebody was able to do something to you that was so effective that it could actually make you forget a little bit about your core values and what you actually believe independently, and to make you feel ashamed, or to make you feel like you're not worthy, or to make you feel like you have to like appease people that have actually been really abusive towards you, or appease people that have actually harmed you over history, and forget and rewrite history for them almost. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to kiss your ass, not the other way around. See, that's the masterfulness of mind control technology. And it does exist. And folks, I'm a 20-year radio frequency engineer. I was in the wireless industry. I worked for, 3 of the largest 7 companies. I did either work for them as a contractor or worked on major projects in regions for them. So I know a lot about the way communication paths work wirelessly within radio frequency and electromagnetic signals. And that's what informs my knowledge relative to the human brain, as weird as that sounds. Because what I've learned over time is that the human body, I'm not a doctor and I can't ever pretend that I would ever be able to memorize everything it takes to know what they know at that level. Okay. But what I do know is that the things that I've learned about the way that the brain processes information within the plasma field based on hidden, occulted knowledge, both from those types of groups, but also from military documentation. I pulled these things directly off of the Defense Intelligence Agency's report. That's called Controlled Offensive Behavior is one. There's another one written by the Army called The Gateway Experience. I recommend both of these as required reading, really, for anybody who wants to understand what is known in America relative to the real MK Ultra. And the real MK Ultra is still ongoing. It's just not called MK Ultra. It's been introduced everywhere around us. You just don't pay attention anymore. And, you know, guys, I'm right there with you. Everything right now, every process around me is MK Ultra at a frequency level. I'm surrounded by it, and so are you. And I'm not telling you that boo. No, that's not the reason I'm telling you that. This is what I'm going to tell you what MK Ultra is. It equals ultra high frequency. Okay, MK Ultra is ultra high frequency, 300 megahertz to 3000 megahertz. 3000 megahertz equals 3.0 gigahertz. Okay, so I put that up there on the screen so you can understand that when I say this, that I'm associating numbers with it. I'm not just going MK Ultra. No, I'm telling you that this is what this is. Okay, now what is MK Ultra? Okay, well, let's take a look at things. Your Wi-Fi is 2400 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. And then that's one band, okay? So I'm just offering some things here. So cell phones. Let's see here. I'm typing out a list here for you guys. So Wi-Fi 2400 megahertz, cell phones 700 megahertz, 1900 megahertz, 1700, 2100 megahertz, AWS band 850 megahertz, 600 megahertz. Oh, cordless phones. Oh, not cordless, cordless. 815, 928. That's just, I'm only offering the ones that are ultra high frequency because some of these devices have ones that are in the next band up that are SHF. And then let's see here. There's ham radio. There's, all right. So I'm just going to give you just some examples. Oh yeah. So in addition to all these things that are all around you constantly, I promise you that there's no way in hell, no matter where you are, unless you're out in the middle of the sticks and you have really good control over things, that you can have any amount of control over these signals being near you. They're being broadcast near you, all around you, and really close to you. It's a guarantee. And these are all ultra high frequency, every single one. Bluetooth headset, that's ultra high frequency. Your Apple Watch operates on ultra high frequency. All these things that you're using are ultra high frequency, and you keep going like, give me more. Can I have more ultra high frequency? Can I put one by my ear? Can I put one on my wrist? Can I put one on my face next to my eyes? I can't wait to put more ultra high frequency next to me. Wow, I have no idea that I'm under mind control. Give me more Bluetooth. Yay! Guys, I can't stay there unless I'm surrounded by that 2.4 gigahertz signal that's going to give me more information than my human brain. Yeah, we're in MK Ultra, folks. We exist in it. We're in a complete ocean of MK Ultra because we opted in a long time ago without opting in. It just became sold to us as a cool, shiny device. Hey, man, cordless phones. Cordless phones, man. Hey, don't you want one of these cool Cobra phones, man? That was 815, 928 megahertz. Now they got them in like that 5.4, 5.8 gigahertz. You know, yeah, but that's still strong. Some operate in other frequencies, guys. I mean, there's so many different frequencies that are these things that don't even take that as 100%. What I'm telling you is it's just some of the things. Bluetooth headsets, MK Ultra, it is. Why are you putting that thing up to your head? If you care about MK Ultra and you know what it is, then why would you welcome something that's basically guaranteed to hive you and is a radio frequency device that goes in very light ways, nearly non-perceivable. But you know what I've learned, folks? You know this thing down here? When I go like this? All right, I've been testing that. Guess what? Do you know how much electricity passes through your hands and how much like it changes the electrical patterns in your body when you just touch that mouse pad or just touch that screen on your phone sometimes? It actually changes things. You change electrical flow in your body. How about that? I've worn, guys, I have like a device where I can wear a glove and I can show you how it changes everything, you know. I mean, it's just bizarre. And I'm like, wow, you know, what does that do to our ability to think clearly? You know, why? I mean, why have things like the what do you want to call it, like Apple Watch? Why? I mean, really? Do you really need that much signal on you? It's on you. It's like, I mean, guys, I'm trying to think if I have it someplace easily available. Like I can show you like one of the ways that you can do things like with body electricity. I have two different sets of them that measure your body electricity. Oh, actually I've got a whole bunch of different ways that demonstrate that there's huge amounts of electrical flow through here. All right. And that anytime you do something like through a fingertip that changes your electrical flow, guess what that does? It travels all the way through your body. You know? I'm telling you what I'm telling you because people's behavior is being changed and they're being hived into artificial belief systems. And there are people that are in charge of this that know very much what's going on, and they're leading the pack out in the streets. And they're masquerading as social justice warriors when they're really electronic weapons experts and radio frequency experts. And beyond that, they give people access to the underground tunnel systems, and that's why these groups call themselves chuds, because that means cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. All right. So I got a whole bunch of slides on this because I want people to think about this right now. People's beliefs are being changed in ways that are like 180 degrees away from logic. And I'm seeing people lose relationships with their friends and family members in ways that are wholly unnatural and don't make any sense. And I don't think it's like all because these people were bad people the entire time and suddenly rug swept all of these people like in some masterful way. I'm not that cynical. However, because I've done the research, I can tell you that people's behavior is being changed with something called psychotronic generators, and I have the evidence of it. The problem is the people doing it are pretty much at the federal level. They know what's happening. It's a partnership, it looks to me like, between people that are at the more FBI, DOJ level in the Department of Energy and Public Works, because they handle all these things involving infrastructure. And everything that I'm telling you basically just involves going into infrastructure and putting these things into plumbing lines. Why? Because the human body clocks to water. Your body will clock to water. If somebody puts a swimming pool next to you and turns that swimming pool into a signal generator that goes, I don't know, at the signal of rage that makes your brain think go like boom, 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 and go into a rage state, then they just have to pump that body of water that's closest to your head and your body with that signal. And then over time, you and everybody around, because your bodies are 60 to 70% water, will begin to entrain to the strongest signal coming from the largest grouping of water. This is why I started the discussion with the ocean, because everybody that goes to the ocean clocks to the ocean. You're on a common clock, and everybody just starts to be like, I feel pretty good here. It's kind of chill here. Your blood pressure lowers. Blood pressure lowers there. See, so it doesn't always affect everybody behaviorally the same, but it'll affect your body the same. For the most part, nearly everybody will actually have improved, lowered blood pressure by going to the ocean. If you normally have high blood pressure, one of the best things you can do is to spend time close to the ocean, and to lower your tension levels simply by virtue of having a clocked frequency that you're always hearing. It's very healing to the body, because that's the original source. That's the source of life. It's all water out there, and you're hearing it. You're actually right next to it. Beyond that, you're right where it meets the earth, and this is where all these elements are meeting together: earth, land, air. Then you are the fire, in a way. Your spark, and what you do with all of it. I would argue that you can get that degree of it just by virtue of everything that's going on electromagnetically. That's within that spectrum, and that's where you bridge everything into you individually as the fifth element, you as the human machine. Then you really see the power in all of it, because you understand that all of it is a manifestation from you and everyone else around you. Once you get that, that's the real work. It's understanding it. And I'm not trying to keep it further away from everybody that doesn't get it. And maybe I'm wrong. That's all right. If you don't agree with this way of looking at it, that's cool. But to me, when I start to zoom out and look at everything like this as energy and dissipating energy and collecting energy and gathering of energy, and, I still feel like it's something that has to be respected as sovereign, which is to say that, yeah, it's energy. We are energy, but we still are sovereign, free-willed individuals. We still have souls. We definitely have a soul. And that's something that I would have been reluctant to say that I definitely believe we have a soul at one time, until I figured out what that really translates to, what these trinities, everybody that's an actual human amongst humans, exists within a trinity of energy. And I think if they're missing any aspects of that trinity, if they have 2/3 of it, they can exist here with the rest of us, but they're soulless. That's the part that I'm really trying to understand better now. I think this has happened to a lot of people where at an energy level, there's a trinity of energies and there's other people that have understand this. That's why, guys, when I'm trying to get you to understand this, yes, I want you to be spiritually uplifted by it, but we are in a spiritual war. We are in a spiritual war that requires that everyone understand this as well as they can, as clearly as they can, those who are capable, and at least acquire your own understanding of it. That energy, people don't die, and I mean, really not in the classic sense, unless they believe it. What they really do by believing in a death cycle is they volunteer. They're volunteering their soul by allowing somebody to convince them that death exists. And you don't have to believe it, and you can be of any faith, because why do all religions pretty much have an afterlife? Why? Think about it. What is the afterlife? Here's what I think. I think all the afterlife really is, folks, is that it's a meeting of where all of our dissipating energy as it whisks away from us is this ourselves here within this physical plane that we're in. Once you stretch out from this, because your energy is always, it's cycling, it's coming back to you, and it's always going outward. So wherever it's dissipating out, where it's moving into the shot, like the Vesica Pisces thing I talk about, doing this, and that we're formed in the center of the Vesica Pisces, right? There's one cycle going clockwise, one cycle going counterclockwise, and then when you have these, rotating spheres doing this, the energy that's formed in the center is the physical matter that we perceive, which is not physical matter. It's just that it's vibrating into resonance based on shared beliefs that we're all having in this plane of this, between those spheres. And we're making them ourselves, because it's like a Mandelbrot, we are the earth is us, and then we all combine together. That's when it's more like, the concept of the flower of life, which, let me get that up there, because I don't want this to be like, you can find this chart, by the way, if you look up circle grids on Wikipedia. That's the only place that I got this, but I love this chart. This is the concept that I'm talking about for the most part. It doesn't really get that deeply into the Vesica Pisces, except for maybe in the seventh circle, right? What I'm talking about is that you're always within the human brain. When your brain merges with others, that's when you're adding, so you have, one hemisphere, and then when you're, doing two, then you form a third order of energy from your two hemispheres, and that's your trinity. And then you're doing that amongst other people, you see, and then you begin sharing beliefs and bringing them into resonance. You're bringing beliefs into physical matter. And that's what the flower of life is teaching us here, is that the more of us that were born on earth and that began to populate, each time that happened, everything was really simple in the beginning, right? But see, it became more complicated just simply because of all this. It's like you start with a fresh palette, and then everybody's just builds and builds and builds, and then it gets larger and larger, and now the earth looks like what it does because we're all here. And we turned it into something that's like that. And I like these because I think it says a lot about the way the plasma field creates sort of like building blocks when it pings against the pineal gland, and then it just bounces back, and then we're all just going boom, 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 and then it's everything just vibrating the frequency. And then we get these things that we're like, how did that happen? How do we get this perfectly formed shape? Well, it's just like Professor Emoto's gratitude experiment. You focused and concentrated on, you thought about the word gratitude, then you got this nice, perfect shape. Nice that that's 72 arcs. All right, so I'm looking at it. I'm looking at everything from that level now, folks. This is why I don't care that much about race. So yeah, I care about people, definitely. But I want everybody to start thinking about this a little bit more. Like, if we all step away from this, then we're all a human community, and we don't let these people that are spirit snipers win. And that's all they are, guys. They want all they're, you know, I got that from a song, by the way. Spirit Snipers Trying to Steal Your Light. It came from Public Enemy. Sorry to repurpose it because I know we're probably in political disagreement. But I respect you. I wouldn't even say half the things I say today if it weren't for half the people that are disagreeing with me right now. That's why this is so painful for me, folks. Do you understand that? I hate that all these people that are out there that I know are just disruptors or like co-opting the anger that some people really feel because they actually experience something. But these people that are co-opting it and making it their own and getting you to be angrier, they didn't experience it. They're taking it from you. They know what happened to you because a lot of it came from them. Then they get out on the street and they act like you. It doesn't, I guess that's a part that pisses me off, guys. There's been so many of these people that proved to be frauds that weren't black, that were leading black movements. And so I'm just telling you guys, like I found that in not just the black regions, it's also within other ethnicities. These are people that are coming from German, Italian, Sicilian, French, you know, kind of dark-skinned roots that once you combine enough of them together, and then if they're Nazi ideologied, but they can pass as a person that looks like you, whoa, you got to think this through. Are you following the right person out there? Are you sure you should be? And if you study my research, you're just going to learn how to decipher who's who because they'll tell you right to your face. They'll put it right in your freaking face. It'll be in their fake name. They'll just, and you'd be like, are you sure you were born with that name? Even if it sounds like a real name, I promise you, you'll see the codes when it's one of them quickly. So the thing I've observed is a lot of these people, that's just their cover. They're getting away with like mass deploying of underground electronic weapons. And these are affecting people's brainwave frequencies. And they've been doing this. It was pretty much like a thing they've done countrywide. And they just started setting them up in zones as far as I can tell. And that's why people are experiencing this now. And I can't tell you how many places I've been where it's happening, guys. First, I thought it was just like some limited environment thing where people were installing it in certain buildings. But then I started finding it just like all across the country. I saw it in Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Atlanta, Georgia. Where else have I researched? I'm just trying to think if there's any other locations, guys. And I'm telling you, they change a little bit from place to place, you know, depending on like the modernization of it. But they all generate a form of electromagnetic pulse that's significant that'll basically make your whole body shake. It's literally like somebody's constantly taking this electromagnetic basketball and going like boom, 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 boom. And you can feel it and you can measure it and has measured traceable signals. And what these people love to do is get on the internet and go like, them evil cell towers. It's coming from your plumbing. It's coming from public works. They always point up when you should look down. Now, guys, I worked in the wireless industry. Full disclosure. I'm telling you. I was a radio frequency designer and planner. Do I think there's some shenanigans going on in certain pockets? Yeah, just in pockets though. Overall, you know, guys, it's hard to argue when you see how evil some of what 5G wants to do is at certain times, because I think parts of it could be a safer transport of if you only did it that way, it would be better than having tons of other frequencies. Okay. I know that that's a loaded statement that I should explain in greater detail, but it's just simply to say that like if somebody said they're going to go from just delivering data on demand, like in one little stream like this, as opposed to raining it down all over us constantly all day, whether we were using it or not, I might opt for the first one over the other one, right? But it's not that simple. So it's one doesn't really exist much without the other. I think it's that the new bands they offered in 5G are just in complement to it. But I don't want to get into that discussion in detail or anything like that. It's just that I'm just saying that, like, pockets of corruption exist everywhere. And I do know, like, for example, there were some people that like knew how to aim microwaves that could have gone off and decided to, like, instead of aiming them from dish to dish, learned how to aim them at people. Because it's easier to aim them at people than it is to aim a dish to another dish. You just aim it at the freaking, window or whatever, and it's done. Whereas when you're aiming dish to dish, you actually have to synchronize them and improve their signal levels and dial them in by aiming them one up, down, like, okay, up a little bit more, down a little bit more, to the left, to the right. You're constantly adjusting it, Anyways, not that you guys need to know about pathing microwaves, but the point is that what this is, in my estimation, based on a lot of research, is that they repurpose radio frequency signals that are normally, like, not used very frequently up above ground, and they use them below ground. Okay. And I know the channel numbers. I'd have to get out the channel chart to make sure I don't hose it up. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to tell you, like, some of the ones that I know they are, because I don't like speaking in abstracts. I want people to know that I actually have my data. Oh, perfect. Here's one chart. I'm going to get another one. Yeah, these are different charts. Okay. So I'll just show you guys kind of like some of what I used to do in the wireless industry. I had charts like this that I dealt with all the time. And this is kind of how we would plan things. And this was the frequency band. It's called, cellular frequency band plan. And you can see here, it has uplink frequencies, downlink frequencies. And it shows you, like, different things that are used within these bands, right? So public safety is this orange band. So 764 to 776 megahertz. Again, those are ultra high frequency. Everything here is ultra high frequency. SMR 800 IDEN, SM 800, A channel, B channel. All right. Now, when I was a cell phone engineer, I specifically dealt with these. B, right here, and right here. And that was called cellular 850 megahertz B band, for example. That's all it was. All right. And that's when I became familiar. It's when I was scanning one time, I was just familiar, like, from my wireless industry days. I said, oh, here I am with the spectrum analyzer. I think I'll dial in 880 to 890 megahertz, or 891.5 to 894, right? This is the extended frequencies. So this is what they use right here, just so you know. The main bands are, for the most part, here. Like, everything that you find used. And this was basically like this yellow band here and this blue one. This is what most of the, is it blue? Yeah. Everything that's red, blue, yellow, pink, and purple here, this AB side, this was all of the first early cell phones. So everything that used to be the old school analog phones, you'll find that most of these frequencies are being used for voice calls that are digital today on like, if you're with Verizon, it's probably the 3G CDMA 1X RTT networks, or if you're with AT&T, it's probably like I don't know, I can't remember what their evolution is. Something within that edge or 2G range or whatever, but I'm not an expert, guys, on the A-band things. Or rather the TDMA evolution. I was a CDMA before it all went LTE, and they started, like, having more common standards. So it was a lot like back when I started in the industry, guys. A person that was on, like, TDMA evolution technology almost always had a hard time doing a person's job if they were CDMA. And if you were from a CDMA code division network, you would struggle with going over to a company like AT&T unless you had already worked there. That's all. Maybe not struggle, but you would have a learning curve. I'll put it that way. You couldn't just immediately step into a job like that. And anyway, sorry, this is a little bit boring. I didn't mean to be that way. But what I'm telling you, though, is that I started scanning for these. And then there was one place that I discovered that I was getting shocked at aggressively, that literally this signal here, when you scan for this one here, And then some of the ones that were like 880 to 890. And if you scan from 891.5 to 894, this one building that I was in Oregon, as I got further in the basement levels, these signals got stronger. And now, guys, I'm reminding you, these should be on cell phone towers. And this was in an apartment building that wasn't very big and not many people were in there, meaning to say that there would be no need to enhance the signal in this building because it's not the kind of building that gets enhancements typically. Okay. And so, you know, here's the thing, guys. When I got closer to the lower level, because I was usually like up to the top floor of the building or close to the top floor of the building, I just took a spectrum analyzer. I was curious to see how strong signals were because I felt it. I felt the energy in there. It was really, I mean, it felt horrible. It made me just, I don't know, I felt like garbage in there. And the more I went downstairs and I got closer to the second floor, third floor, second floor, I just started observing the signal was getting stronger. And I'm like, all right, well, that kind of makes sense sometimes if you're on the fourth floor, third floor, because the tower may be level with the floor that I'm on, you know? But then I got to a point where I was underneath street level. So I was no longer, you know, where I would have access to a tower. And I was kind of going, why are these signals getting stronger? They should not be getting stronger. They should be getting exponentially weaker. In fact, they should be next to no service and, you know, like below 100 neg 100 dBm, and they were getting stronger. I observed that as I got closer to the first level, some of these signals were getting stronger. And I'm going, well, having spent the last 2 years of my career measuring in building systems, I knew that that was an indicator that somebody somewhere was enhancing a signal in that band, and it was obviously underneath the building and being pumped up into the building. Does that help you understand what I'm explaining to you? So you get some cell phone signals from the tower. What these people were doing was they knew that some of these signals weren't on the cell towers being deployed nearby, so they decided to borrow them because it doesn't connect to the cell phone towers. It's just an open frequency they can do things with. Like, you guys ever use those FM transmitters to like play like, I don't know, like for people that only had like a cassette deck inside their cars, and they wanted to play like an MP3 player, but they only had a radio or a cassette deck or a CD player. One of the things you can do is an FM transmitter, and it just scans for free stations, and it'll just broadcast it right into your radio on whatever, you know, like 107, you know, megahertz, for example, when that's normally like 107 FM. Well, if nobody's using 107 FM, then your FM transmitter can just, you know, auto scan and say, hey, I'm going to send your music from your iPod into the car's radio station at 107. I don't know if you guys ever had one of those, but it's similar to that in concept. What these people are doing is they're simply taking the cell phone company's signal without their permission, as far as I can tell, and just putting it underground in some of these places and repurposing it as their own. And then once I learned that that happened in buildings, right? Because I was like, I know this happens, guys. I know it happens. So whoever did this had access to whatever was underneath the apartment, which is consistent with public works, sewage systems, and things of that nature. And I did observe that whatever I felt in that building was coming from the plumbing. Starting to figure it out. This is a way for them now, just using public works and the infrastructure, to make you sick. They can attach like a ring around your plumbing line and just make your whole house go zoom, 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 zoom. That hives into your body. It'll have one of two effects. You just begin to clock in and be like a zombie. Yeah, I'll believe what you want. Yeah, television, it's amazing. It's the greatest thing in the world. I can't wait to eat more of this shitty food that I can barely taste. Sure, vaccinations, why not? I don't care. People are bad when they don't want vaccinations. They should all go to jail. What's wrong with those people? All the guns should get banned. I'm tired of shootings. That's what happens, guys. That's what they're trying to get everybody to do. I will submit. All right, what does it make to make that happen? How do you get a person to actually change their beliefs radically that way? What are the mechanisms of that? There's technology that's involved, folks, and I actually know how it works. The irony is, I learned, guess what? The FBI doesn't want to know. Why? Well, then when I found, guys, that like everything that is to do with this is involving Stargate Project, and that literally there's two businesses across from the Nevada FBI called Stargate Plumbing and Suites number 1 and 3. There's that 13 again, Stargate Plumbing. I don't know. Sorry if you're just a normal plumbing company, Stargate Plumbing. It's just so weird. Like, seriously? Right across from the front of the FBI. Seriously? What do you think they knew about the future relative to Operation or the Stargate Project? Who was really going to wind up at the front door of the FBI relative to the Stargate Project? I wonder. They knew it was going to happen. They had the technology to know. It's me. I happened. And that's the Stargate Project when it comes to that particular reference to it. Just accept it. That's not for this audience, I'm saying that. That's for the FBI. If somebody else told you that they had the information, they were wrong. And they duped you. Guys, you ever wonder why it's Fort Meade that they do everything? Why call it Fort Meade? You understand that it's all about Lake Meade? They always create reversals. They always create something that's like a reversal. It's so bizarre. I'm not saying that Fort Meade was created for negative purposes. They may have actually had insights into this too. I don't think people seem to understand how much of our modern defense has really revolved around what it appears to be that as the timeline technology got better, more people started to see evidence that it was in fact reality. And the people that had those insights, they knew to make plans well in advance so that when this moment happened, so then we would get to this point, then yeah, there would be solutions in place. So when I said that I'm about Stargate, let me explain that. It's to help you guys understand that what's going on right now in America is because we have, number one, suppressed technology, suppressed knowledge, and the companies that are doing that do not have our better interests in mind. America as a country and many in our military would like to see these innovations released. They would like you to know about them. They do want you to understand about bioenergy. They would like you to be smarter when it comes to understanding mass resonance manipulation. Do you know why that might be? Because when we have a dumb population, do you know what it makes it very easy to do? It makes it very easy to have a guy like David Kay from SAIC come in and go like, you got weapons over there, you better go. Hey, America, they've got weapons. We really need to stay on our leadership to make sure that we go to war over there. And then when it's revealed that it didn't actually happen that way, well, they got to have them and their own cronies on board to say, yeah, he was wrong about that, but you know, he's not totally worthless. Can we make him a military analyst going forward and a trusted expert? How about we give him a Nobel Peace Prize because he admitted he made a mistake? Sorry, guys. But see, it wouldn't be that easy for people like that to send all those soldiers off to wars they don't want to be in and away from their families for years. If we were smarter, we're not doing our part. It's not our fault, though. They know that. This is a psychotronic weapon that has been produced in mass, folks. It really is pretty frequent. Like you can find it. You may not feel the effects of it oftentimes, but I can promise you that it's pretty broadly distributed now in America, and it does transmit through plumbing lines. And they can do all kinds of things with it. They can pump radon gas up through your main line. They can, and that'll make you sick and give you lung cancer pretty aggressively, pretty fast. They can do things like, well, what else? There's just a lot of things they can do now. On top of the signal generator. And that right there will just, like, all they have to do is put one of those rings underneath your apartment or on your plumbing line or inside under your house on your main line into your plumbing. Infrastructure people, guys. This would have to nothing to do with a neighbor that's malicious. This could be done through a public works person. Sewage line. That's why I need to show you the next part. Because I need you guys to understand why these people want you arguing over race so badly right now. And why you shouldn't. It's not because I'm kumbaya, my lord, and I don't think that there's any problems anywhere. It's not that, guys. I get it. I'm telling you, though, that you're being duped by a lot of people. They really don't give a shit about you. And they don't care about me, and they don't care about you. They don't care about anybody, really. All right. What is this? This is Chud. This is what Antifa calls each other. They call each other Chud. What is a Chud? A recent article in a New York newspaper reported that there were large colonies of people living under the city. The paper was incorrect. What is living under the city is not human. Chud is under the city. They're not staying down there anymore. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. Now, I know, Gabe, why are you talking about some silly horror movie from the 1980s? Because I saw this. So this is literally Antifa, and this is kind of how they work. Now, what they do is these people basically come from Operation Paperclip bloodlines, Nazis, okay? And what you're going to find in America frequently is you'll have a guy like this, like Luis, that goes, grr, I'm Mexican, or I'm black, and I hate all you oppressive people. And then this one over here will go like, that's right. White people have been responsible for all of the racism and are really horrible, bad, poopy people. And I don't like them either. And I think we should all participate in aggressive self-hatred. And then, you know, neither one of these people are doing what you think they are, though. All this is designed to get everybody out in the streets arguing. And you know what they wind up doing? Making deals right in front of you. They do this whole thing, speaking in code, where they act like they're talking about something political. They get all these Antifa people to go like, ha, 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 cool, man. Yeah, and Luis Marquez smoked a bong in it just to give a finger to the man. Not really, guys. Not really. Not so much. So remember, they say stay salty, chuds. And they call each other comrades because they've made no, you know, mistake about their agenda. By the way, I'm going to tell you about the Bloodline Wars because this guy is Bloodline. He's Bloodline family. That means he's of the Bloodlines. And so when he's out there telling you guys that he's like some beleaguered minority that's experiencing oppression, or that even if you thought he might be a rich guy that's doing it for the good reasons, no. This is exactly what I'm telling you about how they merge these types of blood groups, okay? So she'll come from the ones that have more of the you know, the snow alabaster skin type things and everything like that. They almost never actually integrate these two groups together as far as genetics go, but they partner together because she has an agenda that's in synchronization to his bloodline family, and that's to disrupt all of us. That's to get us arguing over race when neither one of these people really gives a shit about the issue. She knows what she's doing. She doesn't care about any of these things. He doesn't either. He's there to get you in the streets, and then they do what? His name is a cipher for EWs. His name is Luis Enrique Marquez. So his middle name ends with an E. EM, electromagnetic, mark. Enrique, QUE is K. Watts. He queues up watts. I can actually show you a chart on this if you want to see it all encrypted. But yeah, this guy's bogus. And I need you guys to see something. It's because I saw this clip, and this is when I really started to like wonder what was really going on. Because quite a few people in the Portland area know this guy is a con artist. Yet globally, and I'm telling you guys, globally, they accept this guy to be like some, I mean this globally. This man has global reach. I'm going to prove this. But I want you to see this. This is a guy that saw him at the market, and look what he's driving. 121 MZC. I'm not trying to dox the guy. I'm telling you that he's got Minnesota plates. What the hell? Why are you driving Minnesota plates, dude? Well, I'll tell you why he's driving Minnesota plates. Because he was hanging out with Keith Ellison, and Keith Ellison is Minnesota DFL. So there's something that's going on relative to Oregon and Minnesota within the Oregon Democrats and the Minnesota Democrat Farmer Labor's Party, where they seem to be working in partnership to destabilize both Oregon and Minnesota aggressively as major hubs where people typically are pretty sane and balanced. Even if they have, you know, like I would say like Minnesota was pretty libertarian, I guess. You know what I mean? It was more like a Jesse Ventura type thinking place. I mean, they actually voted that guy in as their governor for a while when he had a more of a libertarian agenda. You know, his values have changed a little bit over time, I think. You know, I think COVID scared the hell out of him. But overall, that was considered a pretty progressive decision for a state to make. That was considered almost like not like your typical, you know, whatever you want to say it, like your typical, you know. Anyways, guys, the point is that I started looking at the footage of them and I'm like, that guy looks so familiar to me. And I was even sharing it with my friends. I was like, the guy on his right, even though he's heavily put on this one, he looked familiar to me. And I thought she looked familiar too, but the more I think about it, I don't really know who she is, but I think she might be related to the person that hung out with him. And that I think I actually know who some of these people are, and that it does connect to bloodline families. And they're always doing this purple color coding thing. This is all done in a really, it's very occulted, guys. Has its roots in Nazi occultism. And the fact that they're trying to make you think that these people are genuine social justice warriors is pretty offensive, because they're just not. Now, some of the people that are behind them believe it, but most of these people are what you would call chuds. Now, guys, I'm not exaggerating here. I can show you all kinds of schematics of underground Portland. I'm not just being like obscure. There's extensive tunnels in Portland. Extensive. Miles and miles and miles and miles of tunnels. Cities of the underworld. I have an episode. I can actually reference it for you. You can find an episode on, you can't really get it on YouTube. There's like no bootlegs of the footage anywhere that I can find. If you can, great. But you can find it like on the streaming services, Cities of the Underworld. And if you purchase it, it's usually only like $1 or $2 for an episode. But I would very much recommend it if you want an education into underground Portland. Yeah, it's whitewashed history. They're not telling you the whole story, but I'm telling you, they give you enough maps. You would not believe the maps you get to underground Portland there. If you know the geography of the area, it is a gold mine of information. And there's a reason why they never play that episode anymore. It's because the chuds have taken over. And now they call themselves Antifa. That's all Antifa really is, guys. And then what they've turned themselves into in the public perception is this justified political movement of anti-fascists, when they're really just hackers in some cases. That they're not really hackers. They're just proximity hackers. What does that mean? Their job is to be in large clusters of people with a device or a backpack repeater that'll retransmit the signal the chuds broadcast from up below ground. If you were to get people in there with signal analyzers that knew what they were doing, I guarantee you, if you were to go back and look at my 850 megahertz charts, or hell, FBI, if you were doing your fucking jobs, you would partner with me so I could help you with this assholes. But I forgot, you're not concerned about it. It's so frustrating when you have as many skills as I do and people refuse to take them. It's pissing me off. They're signal generators. They are portable clouds of coverage. Chuds. So a chud is underground, literally pumping a signal up through a sewage container. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It'll go up through a sewage grate because they have access to some of these areas. They can literally just go, all right, we're going to have a protest at Chapman Park. And you know what they do? The chuds set up the signal and it goes up into the park. And then they all gather around where the signal is that should not be there. And it's not coming from a cell phone tower. Normally, it would belong to the companies that the cell phone towers belong to. But no, the chuds are creating a data link underground. That data link is hived into a much larger fiber optic network controlled by the BlackBerry Good RIM people that are all across the country and are global. It's a private internet. Then they pump child porn up through the grates, drug trafficking signals. I mean, guys, it's a wireless transportation system where they can now have a Wi-Fi internet. Think of it this way, guys. When they say protest at Chapman Park or wherever they're going, that's their chosen one most of the time because it's close to, what do you want to call it, the ICE facility. What they're really doing is the chuds go underground. There's somewhere within the central part of that park or somewhere within a corner, a very well-guarded place where only a certain select group of people with special cell phones go into. And they're doing drug trafficking transactions, buying, selling, downloading files of that type, CP, HTCT, drugs, all of it. This is a way to keep cops out, a limited pool of people in, and act like if you come near them, oh, you're just a bunch of racists. Oh, you're just a bunch of fascists. You better stay away from us. When they're just traffickers, you guys. They're just fucking traffickers. Wake up. And you know what? It'd be one thing if they weren't destroying all the streets. And this was a one-time thing where they're kind of going like, hey, we can get away with this sometimes. No, guys. Now it is out of control. It's out of control. I'm tired of it. Because, guys, this is extending beyond just the simple deception of perceptions. Now you've got the whole goddamn country distracted in ways that we may not recover from. We may lose this beautiful country of ours if people don't start doing something about this. And I'm reaching out to my brothers and sisters of all colors, whatever you perceive yourselves to be, to learn from what I've learned from. I don't care anymore because I don't even know what the fuck I am. And when you wake up to that realization, then the frustration level you feel internally makes you kind of go, I just don't care anymore. And I don't want you to. Because what is it solving? It's not solving anything. We were actually almost kind of getting to a point where people were really just kind of like getting over it. Yeah, things were still happening, guys. It's not perfect. This isn't the solution, though. Not these guys. They're the problem. What they want you to do is hate all cops, get all the cops to quit doing their jobs, and then the chuds take over. And if you want them patrolling your streets, wait till you see the results. I would very much recommend you find my material. I can even provide you a link about how this group of people set up at Cider Riot, Cider Riot, Incite a Riot, Cider Riot, Incite a Riot. That was their bar. It was the Antifa bar before it got closed down. It is 0.11 miles, a tenth of a mile from the Oregon Democrats' headquarters entrance. Now, I would argue that those were an annex of one another. The socially acceptable Democrats go into the Oregon Democrat headquarters. Their chud partners hang out at Insider Riot. What a great name for a cider bar, guys. Cider Riot. And then specialize in serving people that start riots. All a coincidence, though, right? Who's doing all this, you guys? And what are they achieving from doing it? This isn't really about whether or not you're, political, or what side you are or were or want to be on. Right now, guys, just get over whatever your differences are and recognize when you've been duped by these movements. Because this isn't real. I'll show you a pretty good indicator of its fakery. This is when I became convinced that there was something seriously wrong here. I'm going to get my Antifa playlist going here. And I'm not doing this so much as an anti-Antifa night as it is just to sort of say that, like, right now they're creating a lot of fear, guys. They're even trying to convince people that they're genuinely threatening Ted Wheeler when they're not. That's all theater. They never threatened Ted Wheeler. They never threatened Nancy Pelosi. If Ted Wheeler and Nancy Pelosi didn't exist, Antifa wouldn't exist either. They are peas in a pod. Know it. And when they go out to old Nancy's house and pretend to be outraged by, by her behavior and like doing things to tag her building and crap, I got to be careful that I don't get copyright tagged on this, but I just want you to take a look at this. Does anybody believe this is authentic? Anti-fascist meets Proud Boy in Portland. What happened? BBC. A Proud Boy and an Antifa activist discuss violence, racism, and protests. Luis Enrique Marquez and Rob Cantrell sit down in Portland, Oregon for a face-to-face conversation. They talk about racism, violence, protests, fascism, and more in this full conversation. You know something, guys? I just don't think that these guys are, any of them are on truly on a different side. I think this is all theater. It's all distraction for us. You know why? Because this guy here, he triggers everybody that old Luis is drawing in. That's his point. Just like this guy, his point, their whole point is to be triggering to people that have a certain perspective. His behavior is repulsive for all kinds of reasons, He's going to wear, aggressively wear sunglasses and be a dick in the interview and not answer anything and, smoke and blow smoke at people's faces and shit like that, Do his black hat, black block thing, all while he's wearing his, Those are some pretty nice Doc Martens there, bruh. Nice Docs. Grr, I don't like the Proud Boys. Grr, I don't like Antifa. You know what this reminds me of?
You had 4 gleaming white horses, and I thought if you found the lady, oh, hello, lady.
I'm doing my best Andre the Giant. That's from Princess Bride, though.
Please don't say that, Physic. Well, I would not want to be unsportsmanlike.
That's a pretty good Andre the Giant, you got to admit.
I wouldn't want to be unsportsmanlike.
All I'm telling you guys is, exit this. This is designed to piss you off. This is theater.
Hey, I'm here to teach you a lesson, Marquez. Take off your sunglasses, dog.
And then he sits over there playing his character. I'm not taking my fucking sunglasses off for nobody. Fucking racist. You fascist.
Oh, you calling me a racist and a fascist, huh, dog? You want to go? You want to go?
You know what this is all designed to do? To get you to do that. They're not going to go back and do anything but drink, get high, and keep the trafficking going while everybody's arguing over who's protesting who and who's actually the real one, who's the fake one, when pretty much it's all, if it's on the BBC, guys, if it's happening here, it's fake. The fact that the BBC is covering something in the Portland news cycle is a serious sign that this is all manufactured. It shouldn't get this kind of attention nationally and globally, but it did. Back then, I want you to look at the stamp on this, guys. Look at how long they've been working on this. This isn't recent. When did you start hearing about these guys? But that's from what? 2 years ago. And some change. So again, guys, if you think I'm picking sides here, think again. I think this is all bullshit. I think this is designed to get all of us fighting.
And I just want to be doing impersonations to make people laugh. I don't want to argue.
That's true, actually.
Can't we all agree that the Princess Bride is awesome? Hello, lady.
You see, I don't have to like Rob Reiner's politics to enjoy The Princess Bride. I can disagree with him severely and still think that that's an amazing film. See how we can have disagreements? I don't agree with half of what Meathead says right now. But I will always love Princess Bride, and I'll always think that he's a cool guy for making it. See how that works, guys? We don't have to be enemies. Because I know people that do that. Clint Eastwood did that thing with the chair in Obama. I'm not ever watching his movies again. I'm like, you're not? That's too bad. They're awesome. You don't want to watch another Clint Eastwood movie again? You're missing out. That's your problem. You're canceling yourself from one of the coolest cultures out there, the Clint Eastwood film catalog. Dude, these things, I really don't care who you are. They will transcend your perception of what you think is hip in culture. Watch Any Which Way You Can and Every Which Way But Loose. The ones with Clyde the orangutan and Clint Eastwood and Ruth Gordon as his mother. Hilarious, man. Hilarious movies. They're just back-to-back genius, weirdly symbolic, silly, but they do have a serious side to them too. There's something that's just brilliant about a lot of the things that Clint Eastwood does. And so I just started noticing that, people were like around me were like trying to cancel a guy like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not going to get me to go along with that. I'm not going to say that I'm not watching his movies anymore. Heartbreak Ridge is one of my favorite movies. I've watched Heartbreak Ridge over 100 times easily.
Drop your cocks and grab your socks.
Hey, you said 5:30. It's 4:30 a.m.
So I lied, so I can't tell time. You're Marines now. You adapt, you improvise, you overcome.
I love that. I love that movie. I memorized all the songs that Stitch Jones plays by Mario Van Peebles and things like that. Like I knew the whole movie, every line of it. So, but there you go. Like, see, for me, movies had a mostly. I didn't let it like poison me too much. Like it mostly had good effects on me. Like I watched a movie like that and I walked away with an appreciation for Marines and Clint Eastwood. Go figure. Nothing negative there in my perception. But you know, these aren't the most politically correct movies in the world, but they weren't malicious either, you know. And they really do have some really genius moments in them, but they're not offensive. You know, I would say a person that if you think you really want to, you think you really should be looking at people's humanity as they're able to express it. Watch a movie like Gran Torino. See, to me, that shows the genius of. To me, that's a really powerful film that Clint Eastwood directed and is in, that discusses race politics in such a brilliantly heartfelt way that is not like. I mean, it's look if you're sensitive, don't watch it because there's a lot of things in it that can be pretty. It's a little bit more aggressive and rough at times because it does cover some pretty dark material, but it's basically, you know, Clint Eastwood's a white guy in a Hmong, you know, kind of transitioning community. And, you know, there's like an old lady that sits out on her thing and she thinks that he should get out of the neighborhood. And he's kind of looking at her like, well, there wasn't as many of you when I got here either. and like, you know, he'll spit out his chew and everything like that. And then she'll go, you know, and do like an even bigger wad. It's just, there's just scenes of humor like that where he's showing you that people really aren't that different. You know, once you get past all these different layers, that we all have this sense of comfort that we want something that's familiar to us that we've been used to. And when it changes suddenly, there's something about that that's disrupting to us, you know, and just see the humanity in people sometimes, because that movie kind of shows what I'm telling you about here. He wasn't a guy that was used to things being that way. And then he went through a series of like a trial and tribulation with some people that showed him some humanity. And then, you know, nothing was perfect, but this wasn't a kumbaya movie. And it's pretty dark, but I'm telling you, Gran Torino, very, very well done as far as talking about these things intelligently. And I think he's a guy with a big heart. It actually kind of chokes me up to think about it. I really don't like to see people who I think have done a lot of good work inside a pretty difficult environment to do that type of thing in, which is Hollywood. And I think he did a lot more good than he did anything that I would consider to be of negative intention or that manifested something that would be harmful. So overall, definitely. I'm not trying to do any celebrity worship nights tonight or anything, guys. It's just that since I've been reviewing his work in particular, it's like I review the Chevy Chase things and whatever else like that, guys. I just find things involving timelines, and you know, I'm always sort of surprised at the brilliance that some people had that isn't openly displayed on their surface characters. But then when you dig deeper into the films, you're like, I can't believe it. This is so brilliant. Especially those two films with the orangutans. Like, I didn't understand its hidden brilliance. There's some seriously like if people knew what it was that was in there. Guys, I'm telling you, even those are movies about like Clive the orangutan traveling around with Clint Eastwood. There's a scene between him and Sandra Locke in Every Which Way But Loose. And because I've always watched the movie passively, I wasn't looking for information, you know. I always kind of just paid attention to the more humorous parts, you know, like Ruth Gordon going, "Oh, get the hell out of here. You don't care about an old lady. I don't give a shit about you anyways. Get off of my porch." Like every time she's cursing somebody out, it's freaking hilarious, you know? And, but there's a scene between Sandra Locke where she's trying to hurt his feelings, you know, and they actually were in a real relationship, but back then. And but she's like slapping his face, and she even kind of punches him a couple of times, and she's like going like she's pushing him away, but you can tell she loves him, you know. And the way she keeps kind of going like, like, why can't guys like you just take a hint? You're just so thick-headed. And then she starts to kind of like fall apart as she's doing it a little bit, because it's not in her heart. She's just pushing him away. She doesn't want him to go away. She loves him. And but I can't remember what the exact plot line was, but she kind of has to, kind of thing, or she's pushing him away, but she doesn't really want to. And then when they open up into the Any Which Way You Can movie, she's just like trying to find him. She's actually looking for him, like, because she realizes she did wrong by him and she wants to make it up. I never saw the connection between one film to the other. I knew that there was like a thing where they broke up in the first one, and then something happens where they heal it in the second movie or whatever. But I watched the second one so many times and stopped watching the first one that I stopped seeing the whole bridge of the plot lines and everything. So, but it has these moments of brilliance like that, where I literally, to me, even though he's just like, he's just sitting there, not sitting there, but standing there, his eyes are kind of like this. And she's punching him, and as his face gets more and more marked, but he just sits there kind of looking at her like this, like he loves her. You can tell he does. But this moment it's horrifying him inside. But he is who he is. He's Clint Eastwood. And even if he's just playing a Clint Eastwood character, he's got to maintain. But in this movie, the way he does it, while like the camera just shows like, and then like each time it shows back up, he's got like a little bit more blood or a scar. And then just seeing how he just stays static and he doesn't do anything. He's just like, all right. It was powerful. It's just powerful. It really touched me. It got me. Hang on. All right. There does seem to be this link, guys, is all I'm saying, that this is something that whatever is going on, this is a top-down coordinated effort. It's media. These are not grassroots things that are starting up, especially in Portland. And my guess is, based on the footage I've seen of Minneapolis, it's not grassroots there. These are professional disruptors, and these are their roles. And if they're professional disruptors and they're destroying our streets, then they're in a whole nother level of category within America. And if we have political leaders that are their partners, then they're not going to classify them properly, because they're in the same group and they have the same agenda. So I would like it if people would just stop seeing this as something political and start looking at it for what it really is. These are the actions of insiders and a foreign entity that are paying people inside to destabilize our country from within. And these groups that are traveling around pretending to be running protests are running portable cell towers that masquerade as protests. That's all it is. Their connection point is underground into a DAS fiber optic system that takes it up to Canada through Rogers Telecom. It goes underground. The calls are not processed. The data sessions are not processed in America. They're processed in Canada. It's been their thing that they've been doing for a long time. It's just a mirror of what BlackBerry does. BlackBerry establishes a route that's secure between the United States and America from Canada. And Research in Motion, RIM, the company that made them, this cell phone technology that has the encryption, they've always had that route established for the Americas. That's why the president had to use a BlackBerry for years. It's because there's a communication pathway where Canada is entrusted to monitor things for the U.S. And they send a pathway for the BlackBerry servers up to Canada, where it's managed there, the encryption path. And that's why, like, when I tell people about the word good being used as when you see people integrating the word good into their name in a way that feels off resonance, like you don't think they were actually born with that name, oftentimes they're a quote, a provider of this service, a hub for this service, or again, guys, like I don't think Steve Gutenberg does it. So I'm not telling everybody with good or goot does this, but it's a sign. It's one thing to look for. So if there's a fake news persona out there that you know has good in their name and you've always felt like there's something wrong with them, look deeper, because you're going to find that a lot of times they're communicating a news story. If you look into the people they bring on for the news story, the story they're talking about, these are all ciphers that are consistent with BlackBerry, RIM, information technology, information servers, IP addresses, terminologies that are like that. The character will be named like, you know, Alan Fibero, you know, local area network fiber, you know, fiber optic communication pathway. They always have these really weird names like, you know, Jason Goodman. Well, I'm bringing on, you know, Guy Fibero, and he's going to be talking about, you know, the hackers that hack high-speed data networks and the whole BlackBerry scandal with Hillary Clinton. It'll be something like that, you know. And then one's communicating good server, the other person's communicating pathways. And then this is how they do things over the airwaves with it looking like news when it's actually, you know, discussing pricing or routes or answering questions about that in the chat. That's why, guys, I'm sometimes have a low threshold of tolerance, because I'm like, I don't even want people using this for that, you know, even in a way that even if I can't figure it out or whatever, I still don't like it. But hey, yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't think it's that simple. It's not like that. I mean, it's not like Obama handed over control of the internet to Canada, just so you know. And what happened actually, and again, I'm not an expert in this, but my understanding is that, yeah, there was private interest that mostly had like control over the central management of all of those things. It was based in the United States until a certain point. And I don't think that it was a policy per se of the Obama administration. I think it's simply timed during the Obama administration. And I have to be honest with you guys, global management, the global management of the internet would be preferable to one country running it, if you ask me. I don't think that it should be one country, because that one country could simply place a lot of filters and biases without the rest of the world knowing it. And that's not really a clear, open experience. This is one of the reasons why, you know, other countries that aren't consistent with this agenda relative to, you know, the European Union and America that are closer to these companies, that they've gone different pathways and they've tried to disconnect from that larger internet in ways where they don't want to have to go through them. And they've said that because they can tell that their information is suppressed when it has to go through some of these central routes. They get pushed down in results, or nobody finds their information. I know this happens to Russia big time. Guys, you can't find anything relative to Russian research without going through a lot of series of hoops and hurdles. And it could be translation issues, guys. That is, I think, a big part of it. I mean, you know, when you're dealing with foreign dialects that don't have a direct translation symbolically from whatever to whatever, that could play into making it challenging. But no, man, like there's times where I was just trying to find pyramids, and I actually even had somebody helping me that had knowledge of where they were and things like that, that could give me suggestions on words to look for and everything. And I'm telling you, it was like jumping through hoops trying to find that information. It's like they were like, nothing to see there, guys. There's nothing of significance in Russia. It's a great, big, insignificant, you know, place full of backwards people that still believe in communism. Just move along, nothing to see there. And it's just completely not true. And then when you find the information, you realize they're building pyramidal structures in Tomsk. They're literally tapping into everything I'm telling you about 33 as a positive energy thing. 33, guys. 33 pyramids, modern pyramids being built in one facility. And again, I didn't think of that, and I didn't get it from somebody per se. It's just simply that I was trying to figure out why is 33 so relevant? And it's because the number 3, and it's how we perceive reality, guys. This trinity of energies, the 3 is in everything. It's in the building blocks of everything we form reality in. So the more you can integrate the 3s into every single thing you do, the more you're reinforcing things that are building blocks and life affirming. It's like POR spectrum events. It's one of the reasons, guys, why like I have to reveal things to people. I'm not trying to make this like some angry expose on these groups as much as I get pissed off sometimes. I'm really trying to it to be more like, when you understand what the truth is, will you still want to feel this way? And if you do, after you learn the truth, still want to feel that way, then I guess that's on you, and you're going to have to deal with the consequences. But I don't like people having false karma applied to them. I don't want somebody out in the streets feeling passionate genuinely about something that maybe they shouldn't feel that way. I don't want them angry over something where, look, that's, or if that's your expression of it, let's find you another path. Let's find you a way to build something that'll actually heal this problem instead of destroying something. That's all I'm looking for. Is that fair? Because I'm explaining to you that some of you are trusting child traffickers that want you to destabilize and destroy everything because their jobs are a hell of a lot easier when there's no cops around. Of course, they think all cops are bastards. Cops actually will arrest a person for being a pedophile from time to time, even though that seems to be discouraged in our society right now. But no, not when you got groups like this that recruit them. And that's the problem, guys. Do you guys understand that this group is recruiting them actively? That the reason why they're so cozy, and by the guys, this is classic right here. I want you to see this. These are the bloodlines merging. See this? They're the same people. They're from the same race. They're from the same Nazi groups and everything, or the ones that were the partners of the Nazis when they came in from Operation Paperclip. And here they are. One is like, I'm the nice, responsible lady that I'm a sympathizing with these nice street kids in Antifa. And they're like, well, yeah, I'm here channeling all this street energy. I'm Antifa, man. We're going to burn the streets down, man. Fight the power. Zach De La Roca. Yeah, burn it down. There's not a sincere bone in this man's body. Or hers. These are actors and actresses. This is witchcraft, guys. And it is to them. And I need you to understand it. This is craft. This is craft to them. She practices the craft. He practices the craft. And that's the only reason why I discuss the occult things to you guys, is so you understand it. They're wizards and witches. They're not politicians. They're wizards and witches. And if you don't take that shit seriously, then don't take them seriously, and you take their power away. It's as simple as that. Because their whole power relies upon you taking them seriously. And when they're doing things like this, it's hard not to. This is one of the most, like, the coolest areas you could go to in Portland was around a statue. Now, like, nobody wants to go down there. Why? Because the chuds are taking over. By the way, guys, see all those pictures there? These are all... in this one here, these are actual pictures of the underground caverns in Portland, Oregon. These are just some. Do you know some of these things have trap doors that are inside the downtown office buildings and bars? One is called Huber's. You can look it up. Hubers. Huber's was used for Gus Van Sant's films. It was either Drugstore Cowboy or My Own Private Idaho that he used to film scenes of in Huber's. But that's one where you can enter into this facility and you go underground, and there are all these tons and tons of caves. Like right there, you see what that is? That's a trap door. Sorry that it's a little bit out of whatever, but so above would be a bar. And these bars still exist, guys. These are actual trap doors that will lead you to real places. And so you would go upstairs, they'd stick the guy who got passed out drunk in the corner, and somebody down here would release the lever, and the guy would land down on a mattress underground, and then he would get shanghaied. They would steal him and take him to work as prison labor in Shanghai on a ship, and he may never see America again. And just showing you guys, this is a real thing in case you thought I was making that up. This was the bar that these guys hang out at. Cider Riot. So what do you think they're really doing, guys? (807) Northeast Cooch Street. That's how you say it, not couch. I know you'll probably think I'm making that up if you're not a local, but I promise you I'm not. But it says in May 2019, a brawl between far-right protesters and patrons attending a Rose City Antifa event took place outside Cider Riot, resulting in the company filing a $1 million lawsuit. 6 participants, including political activist Joey Gibson, were indicted in August. 5 of the men are connected to the group Patriot Prayer. Now, that's the way that they position that whole story, and that's kind of how they like to do the whole thing. But I actually saw the footage, guys. I watched it, and if you watch the footage and review it critically, you'll know what's going on there. Oh, and these are just showing you, in case people like question me, like some of the information that I had about Antifa. These are some of the things I pulled off 4chan and some of the other groups where they were basically posting the local Portlanders, some of the ones that were connected to the fires. They were actually showing how they're buying fuel canisters and then bragging about what they were doing with it. And then they were saying, like, stop starting rumors about us spreading fires, when they're actually obviously all out there starting fires. And then when you learn that a bunch of them actually have partnerships with people in the fire department, then it gets really sinister, because some of them do. And now you understand what's going on here, guys. You see this? Now, this is from a while ago, but you see what was going on in our streets, that they were being completely dismantled by this group. And because it's all political now, and these people don't do their jobs, they advocate for a side. Our country is fucked. That's why we're fucked right now. Because this guy, instead of doing his job, he waits to see who's in charge and, who he's going to politically either one way or the other piss off. And then that's where he decides that's a criminal or that's not a criminal. That's our problem. FBI Director Chris Wray testified before Congress that Antifa is an ideology, not an organization. While they're doing things like this, right? Listen, what does this say, guys? Interview with alleged Antifa CEO Luis Marquez. Well, it's hard to argue if he gets that kind of press coverage from the local press. He's right there next to the woman that was running for mayor. Boy, guys, they're all so cozy, man. So, guys, just telling you, like, don't buy into the big, spooky, scary crap that they're doing. It's all designed to, like, create events to get away with trafficking. That's all it is. There's hardly anybody who really believes in these things amongst them. It's theater for you to get scared and spooked out by and go away from your favorite places. And then these people come in and buy all your property for pennies on the dollar. So, that nice house you had in Portland? Well, then guys like old Blake David Hampy over here on the right in the center here. Yeah, he's an Antifa. That's him before he got arrested. He called himself everyday anti-fascist. Notice the purple hair and the pink band and everything like that. Everyday anti-fascist while he's dressed like, in Oshkosh bagosh, dressed like he's a little boy. Well, this guy, they got busted stabbing a black man at a Black Lives Matter protest. I repeat, a white man from Antifa stabbed a black man at a Black Lives Matter protest, and the Democrats bailed him out. Is this what you think it is, you think? Or is it possible that all these people are faking it? That this guy might just be more, and he might be more, and this is all just a way for people who have common interests to partner together and go, I didn't see that. I don't know what's going on. Did you see it? I didn't see it. How about you, Keith? Hey, Louise, are you and your friends starting shit over there? I don't even know you, Keith. Hey, didn't we meet in Minnesota? I don't think so. Did you see a photo of that? Yeah, but that was just for a minute. But they heard we met for a few hours. Yeah, but Keith, he's not a radical or anything. No, he's not a radical. Of course not. He just has these little things that say he knows how to strike fear in the heart of Donald Trump with his anti-fascist handbook. Guys, I'm not a fascist. I oppose fascism. You know what? I oppose fascism so much that when I look at this guy's behavior, I go, this fucking fascist, I'm sick of this little fascist bastard. Why is he being such a fascist? And then I see him going, I'm anti-fascist. And I'm like, really? But you chase people out of the center of parks? You walk up to private citizens and ask them for their press credentials and chase them out of public spaces. And you're not a fascist.
Seek hell!
No, that's the definition of a fascist. You're telling a person they can't be in a park because you're having a protest. And no one sees through this. We have Director Ray going, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I hear they're not. I hear they're just an idea.
They're just an idea, everybody. I'm not sure what one is because I don't think I've ever had an original one that wasn't programmed straight to this part of my brain. Where's my Bluetooth headset? I don't even know how to do my job without asking the mafia.
That's what I think of Director Ray. I don't think he even knows how to do his job without asking the mafia. I think these people are puppets and buffers. Ray. Yeah, X-ray. War Ray. That kind of ray. Electron beams. X-rays. Gamma rays. And who directs the rays? Who's the information system for the war ray? Chris Ray. What do you think, Chris Ray? Maybe that's why you're not doing shit about the information I have, because it's directly revealing that exact program. And, well, the FBI seems to be pretty cozy with it. Directing rays at people. All you got to do is call them deplorable while you're doing this, right? Call them deplorable, though. This guy spits on people, guys. He spits on people. I can show you tons of footage of this guy spitting on people over and over again. Hey, Keith. This is for Keith Ellison. They have whole clips dedicated to this guy spitting on people who are just have their American flags out. So that's the same guy you see posing with Keith Ellison.
What you gonna do? I'm just here waiting my flag. What you gonna do? Back off. What you gonna do? Back off. What you gonna do? Now. What you gonna do? Get out of my face. Now. Touch me. Get out of my face. Now. Touch me. Get out of my face. Now. The way the American flag in America? Your flag is fucked. This is the flag of our country.
An imperialist country that puts down anything that's
Well, then no. You got 57 years on me. 57 years on me. They're
57.
all going down there and cursing at you at your location.
because we're against racism. You're multiracial. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be told. It's okay to be white. You're not proud to be out.
Anyways, they're pretty much all like this, guys. Here's one. Check this out. You tell me what's fascism.
I don't know exactly. You started looking at me. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm out here just trying to cover both sides. I'm just out here to cover the whole thing. I'm a journalist. For what paper? For what paper? You don't have to be. It's the internet. No, that's not a thing. Yeah, I'm just a guy. You guys with the Patriot Prayer? They aren't here. They aren't here. Been with them? No. Well, actually, I was here last year, and I think that they were part of that M2 event. I covered that. Get out of my fucking way. I'm walking that way. You're walking that way? Move the fuck out of my way. Move out of my fucking way. Why? Right now. Why? You're fucking walking. Move out of my way. You want to do something, fat guy?
Hey, Keith Ellison, that's your friend, man. He just tells people that they can't be inside a public space. He asks for their press credentials. He spits on them. Can I be honest with you guys? Like, I don't really know who Mark Callahan is, okay? And I have a limited knowledge of Patriot Prayer. I've seen some of their things, you know, and I don't see them as a menacing group overall. They do definitely get in the face of Portland Antifa, though. No question about it. They're confrontational, and but they're not doing it. Patriot Prayer is a lot different than the Proud Boys, in my estimation, personally, when I've reviewed all of it. And, you know, I saw them as a pretty clever, like, demonstrating like exactly what I'm telling you. Like, their Patriot Prayer went down to Cider Riot, and they were highlighting everything that I'm telling you in a way, in their own clever way. He was kept on going like, "Hey guys, they're trying to incite a riot at Cider Riot. They're inciting a riot at Cider Riot. Hey, look, they're going to incite a riot at Cider Riot." That's what I kept on thinking. Like, that's its purpose. It's a hub of planning. How can anybody miss this? You know, and there's just tons of this footage, you guys, of this guy just doing all these, you know, over and over again, starting fights, saying that people should be put on fire for disagreeing with them. There's footage I have of these guys like stalking people all over town and calling innocent people horrible names. You know, and then what you learn when you dig deeper into the one that called that person the name, some of the people that they've been sitting next to sometimes are like 2 or 3 time child sex offenders. Like, they raped multiple children, and they're right there with these guys getting protection. Folks, that's what all this is. It is a protection racket for human traffickers and pedophiles. And then anybody else who is a compromised, like, criminal class can enter into whatever this is and effectively get new identities, multiple ones. And so it's been kind of revealed this because it got on overdrive. They just did this way too frequently to where now everybody's looking around going, something's up. These people were not born with these names. Stop it already. And then the whole COVID thing had to happen because cover ID. They got to delete the characters. So, guys, a lot of these Antifa people, There's 7 different people or 3 or 4 different people. That's all. They can disappear and reappear someplace else and be somebody else. That's all. And for you, their whole point is to get you arguing. And I'm explaining to you that these leaders that are like going like, you know, hey, people that look like me are going to jail and people like you get to go to college. I mean, I'm not telling you that the point that he might be making doesn't have some validity to it. And look, guys, there's definitely some things that have gone on where there's been some social injustices that need to be corrected. I don't deny that. But this is pure race baiting. This is divisionist politics, and it has a purpose behind it. It's distraction so trafficking can happen right in front of you. And then when one of them gets caught, now they become a protected class that everybody marches in the streets for instead of goes, what a creep. Or what? That guy held a gun up to a pregnant woman's belly once? What a scumbag. Now you're out there fighting for the person. Or she stabbed her and she stabbed other people? It's things like this that keep going on. If you dig deeper into the stories, guys, you're going to learn that a lot of these people were always challenging characters. They did not have good histories. And now this has become the new way to delete, reinvent. If they can't delete the person, then this is a way just to reinvent them in the public perception. And they got the media behind them to help. The media is going to keep reinforcing it because they love the chaos in the streets. This is working great for their news cycle. See, if they don't have Trump to say, what an asshole constantly all day and night, then what do they got? They're realizing it now because a lot of their ratings are slipping and nobody believes them. They don't have a boogeyman anymore. So now what they've got is, I guess now they're going to partner with Antifa to go like, yeah, guys, you're right. They're pretty bad. Now they're going after Ted Wheeler and Nancy Pelosi. No, guys, because if Antifa was what they tell you they are, that's the only people they would go after. Do you understand that? And I don't think they should. I'm telling you that if they were truly about anti-fascism, they wouldn't dismantle the communities of the people that need them to stay intact. They wouldn't go and destroy a community like in downtown Portland where, say, for example, you're in an area where most of the people that are there do all their shopping within about 3 or 4 streets of that area. To do otherwise, because maybe some of them don't drive or they have other things, challenges, maybe they're disabled or whatever the case is, guys, because some older people live in these areas or whatever. The point is that in all of your madness and chaos and all of your getting pissed and fighting against this or that, then what winds up happening in the aftermath is, yeah, that old lady, now she can't just go down the street to get milk. Or if she's too scared to go outside because of all the activity, now she has to spend more money to have it brought in. And are they going to want to come to her? Who's going to want to go to that neighborhood? Let me tell you, as a person that's done the work, you don't select those shifts. You just stay the fuck away from them. You guys, I'm going to tell you something straight up. Some of these food applications and other types of things, they will offer premiums to people to deliver to riot zones. I know for a fact. Portland Antifa riot zones, sometimes you could make an extra $5 per delivery, which is like far beyond the base pay typically. And sometimes that's more than you might make for the base and a tip. They'll give you just as an extra incentive to go into the war zone that is downtown Portland now. So what do you think that translates to as far as fees for the customer? They get charged for peak service fees, and then they already can't afford it. So what do you think's going to happen? Oh, but you're a social justice warrior. You're doing it for the people. You're saying that every revolution has to start with some degree of, destruction or something, right? Who are you destroying? You guys, it's all theater because they're not even really going after Wheeler. They didn't go after Pelosi. They didn't really go after Wheeler. Guys, if they really wanted to go after Pelosi, go look up Antifa's attack on Pelosi's house. They only painted on the repaintable part of her garage door. She lives in some classic building that's surrounded with brick, and they only painted on the white garage door. Wow, boy, you guys are just way to stick it to Nancy, guys. You're just yeah, way to stick it to Nancy. That's so staged. Nancy, I can just see her sitting around her cameras going like, yeah, I'm just having some ice cream. Of course it's Jenny's. I don't eat anything. I wouldn't eat Ben and Jerry's. That's garbage. I know it's $10 a pint. Yes, my $30,000 refrigerator's full of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're here. Yeah. Yes. Okay, tell them not to get any on the brick. Only the white part of the garage, okay? All right. Are they doing? Yeah, they're doing it. Oh, this is great. Yeah, I'm going to do a big press conference tomorrow. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to enjoy my Jenny's ice cream. Ted Wheeler, he's probably not even in his condo when they're protesting. He's probably like at the beach or some shit. Hey, let's protest Ted Wheeler's condo. No, all you did was piss off all the other people that had the unfortunate, whatever decision of being in Ted Wheeler's alleged condo. He just went someplace else. All theater. So step away from the game, everybody, and let's get our country back together. What do you say? These people are going to walk you into self-destruction. They're waiting for you to F up so they can just harvest you. They can cash you out. And in the meantime, they're just using you and getting you to be angry at people that, wouldn't you rather be friends with people? Or do you want to be pissed? When you're friends with people, then they kind of like listen to you. They might actually want to partner with you on making something work. The way you're going about it, this is like, no one's going to let this happen to our country. You're just going to get it to the point where, at the breaking point where you're finally going to have to be dealt with, you're not going to like what it looks like. And I promise you, people like me are going to be out there explaining it to everybody to say like, look, guys, this is why it had to be done this way. And I'm sorry that it's ugly. And I was just as fight the power as a lot of these people used to be. But what is going on here, you don't understand it yet. So let me help you understand it. And I'll explain it. And I have no problems telling you that. So stop it. Because I know where your bloodlines lead back to. I know what this bloodline war is about. And the whole population shouldn't be caught in the crossfire. And that's kind of what this is, guys. It's not just, it's trafficking, but it's also some larger war that's going on between a lot of different bloodlines. I try not to talk about that part because that's more esoteric. But see, if you don't understand that that piece exists, that there's a little bit of this sort of like mafia thing going on in the background between competing families globally, then the genetic part is difficult to understand too, like why you should abandon race politics and divisionist politics altogether. Anybody that's encouraging those things and encouraging this duality, I think are people that are too old school. That's just my opinion. And I love some of them too. And I'm not saying that they're deceptive, that they're bad people. I just think that what their view of things at this point is a little bit old school to the point where it's going to harm them and the next generation if they keep maintaining this level of just refusal to see through the bullshit that the media is putting out. When you're partnering with the media excessively and you're getting too comfy with them because they're acquiescing to you, you see, you waited for years. I think a lot of these communities, they waited for years from acknowledgement from the press. It's such a deceptive, prick on your brain. You wait for that affirmation. They're not paying attention to me. Look, it's happening to me. I keep wondering, like, I'm not wanting the attention, guys. I just keep going, like, if these are news organizations, why have they not picked up on a single story of mine? You'd think they would have at least borrowed one of them, but no, they bury them. They get changed. I was telling somebody earlier today, guys, I can think of 3 stories that I had the original details on that by the time you heard about it, they were completely different stories. But I could see all the elements of what I was investigating mixed into the fake story that got pushed out. So my advice for folks is to start studying what they're really doing between Minnesota and Oregon. Look at the commonalities. Look at the ways that things are synchronizing. Look at the ways you have people meeting between these two areas. I'm saying this to insiders at the FBI that actually want to start doing their jobs and partnering with the military. I'm open to that. I don't think you deserve to be with the most embarrassing law enforcement agency in the history of the world. It embarrasses me that I was, in one or two groups that made some questionable decisions. So I don't, again, guys, I don't think that you're all one and the same. But we have to start doing something about this today. And you can't stay by the sidelines forever acting like this is okay to accept. Did it ever occur to you maybe you're dealing with a huge test? Maybe sometimes people are just testing you to see if you have the moral fortitude to fight back. That maybe this is a test of will. That maybe sometimes that there's people that are just looking for people. They want to see who steps forward in a real way. And that maybe you're rewarded when you do. But they don't want you to know that all the time. They want to know if you're doing it for the right reasons. So just think about that. What kind of world do you want to exist in? This isn't the way. What these people are engaged in is mass resonance manipulation and structural psychology, staging events that get everybody into a genuine behavioral event. And then they just have somebody there that goes like, you're pissed off, aren't you? Right? You're pissed off, aren't you? You're pissed off, aren't you? I mean, it's so MK, guys. They might even do things like this. Wiggle their foot at you and everything, guys. All of it. Yeah, you want to get angry, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, here's your outlet. Yeah, let's do it this way. I know exactly how. See that guy over there? See how he's breaking those windows? That's what you should do. Look at all the ones that are partnering together, though. They'll always look like Ayanna Known from who was in that Portland mayor's race, and the other one will look like Louise Marquez. Peas in a pod. One saying like, I'm the elite white person who's a Democrat. I support this person in the streets that does things a little differently. They're kind of rebellious, but don't worry, they're not going to do too much harm. This is their whole system, guys. And then they go out there and go, grrr. They're the Rottweiler. Grrr, scratch, scratch, bite. And then she's the owner that goes, it's so cute and cuddly. You guys just don't understand it. That's my cute Rottweiler. All right, folks. Thank you for joining tonight. I do appreciate it. I want to end on a good note here. So let's just all just raise the frequency a little bit. Seriously, we can do better than this. We don't have to accept this false media cycle. We don't. We really don't. Okay? And I'm here for if you guys want to consult or you want to do things relative to biowell measurements or seminars or things like that. If you want me to go to your location and do something to that effect and want to hire me or do a signal sweep or something like that, let me know. I do offer those things. I offer consulting. All my details are inside the description section below. And yeah, guys, I'm just trying to establish a little bit of a reserve because I just kind of evaded another funding disaster or whatever. So anybody who wants to contribute, I do appreciate it as always and everything like that. It's very much appreciated right now because this is really my source of income solely. So anything I appreciate. Thank you for joining, guys. And again, I'm also available for hire. Have a good night.